3 days before my wedding, my fiancé looked me straight in the eyes and told me I was too ugly to be his wife. He didn't whisper it. He didn't apologize for it. He said it like it was a fact, like the sky being blue, like water being wet. And the worst part? Just hours before he said those words, he had spent the entire night with another woman. A woman he met online. A woman he called beautiful in messages I wasn't supposed to see. My name is Elena. I was 28 years old, and I thought I was about to marry the love of my life. Instead, I was about to learn the truth about him and about myself. But here's what he didn't know. What none of them knew. 2 years later, I would walk down the aisle again. Not as his bride, but as his brother's wife. And when he saw me standing there, in white, glowing, happy, the look on his face wasn't jealousy. It was regret. The kind of regret that eats a man alive. This is the story of how a broken engagement became the beginning of the best revenge I never even planned. Let me take you back to where it all began. I met Daniel at a charity gala 18 months before our almost wedding. He was 32, sharp-suited, confident, the CEO of a growing tech company his family had built from nothing. He had that kind of charm that made a room go quiet when he walked in. I was a graphic designer. Not rich, not famous, just someone who loved her work and believed in simple things: honesty, loyalty, kindness. When Daniel started talking to me that night, I didn't expect anything to come of it. Men like him usually didn't look twice at women like me. But he did. He pursued me for months. Flowers at my office. Reservations at restaurants I couldn't pronounce. Long phone calls at midnight where he told me I was different from every woman he'd ever met. I fell for him completely. A year in, he proposed at his family's lake house, down on one knee, surrounded by candles his assistant had probably set up. I said yes, without a second of hesitation. My family loved him. His family mostly accepted me, except for one person. His older brother, Marcus. Marcus was quiet, reserved. He ran the charitable foundation branch of the family business, away from the spotlight his younger brother loved so much. At family dinners, I noticed Marcus watching me sometimes, not in a way that felt uncomfortable, but almost protective, like he could see something the rest of us couldn't. I didn't understand what that meant. Not yet. For months, everything seemed perfect. The wedding planning moved forward. The dress was chosen. The venue was booked, a beautiful ballroom with crystal chandeliers that Daniel insisted on because, in his words, only the best for my future wife. But somewhere behind that golden image, cracks were already forming. I just couldn't see them yet. Looking back now, there were signs. Small things I brushed off because I loved him and didn't want to believe the worst. Daniel started working later. Business trips became more frequent. His phone, which used to sit face up on the table between us, started staying face down, screen dark, buzzing quietly like a secret. When I asked, he always had an answer. Investors. Board meetings. You wouldn't understand the pressure I'm under. I believed him, because that's what love does sometimes. It makes you choose comfort over truth. 3 weeks before the wedding, I stopped by his office to surprise him with lunch. His assistant told me he'd already left for the day. That was strange, because he told me that morning he had back-to-back meetings until 9 at night. I didn't confront him. I told myself it was a misunderstanding. But that same week, I noticed something odd on his laptop when he left it open on the kitchen counter. A messaging app one didn't recognize. And a conversation, still open, with a woman whose profile picture showed her laughing on a beach somewhere far away. The messages weren't business. They were intimate, flattering. The kind of words a man says when he's trying to make a woman feel special. The exact same words he had once used on me. My hands were shaking, but I closed the laptop and said nothing. Not yet. I needed proof. I needed to know exactly how deep this went before I let myself fall apart. I had no idea that the answer would come faster and hurt more than I ever expected. 3 nights before our wedding, Daniel told me he had an emergency work dinner with international investors. He said it would run late, maybe past midnight, and that I shouldn't wait up. Something in his voice felt off. Too smooth. Too rehearsed. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I followed him. I watched him walk into a hotel, not a restaurant, a hotel, and I watched a woman meet him in the lobby. The same woman from the messages. She hugged him like they'd done this before. Like it was routine. I sat in my car outside that hotel for 4 hours. I told myself I was wrong, that there was an explanation, that any minute he'd walk out with his colleagues and I'd feel foolish for doubting him. He never walked out. Not that night. The next morning, I confronted him. I showed him what I'd seen. I expected shame. I expected an apology, tears, some kind of desperate excuse. Instead, Daniel looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. "You want the truth?" he said. "The truth is, I've been unhappy for a while. She makes me feel things you never could. And honestly, Elena..." He paused, like he was choosing the cruelest words on purpose. "You're not exactly the kind of woman a man like me is supposed to end up with. I should have married someone who actually turns heads, not someone I settled for." I stood there, frozen, as 3 years of love collapsed into ash in front of me. That night, he called off the engagement. In a text message. For sentences long. As if I was a business deal that no longer served his interests. I remember sitting on my bathroom floor at 2 in the morning, staring at that message, feeling like the ground had opened beneath me. Everyone would know. The wedding was 3 days away. The invitations were already sent. My dress hung in the closet like a ghost of a future that would never happen. I thought my life was over. I had no idea it was about to truly begin. The days after the breakup were the darkest of my life. I canceled the venue. I returned the dress. I called every guest myself because I couldn't bear the thought of anyone else doing it for me. Daniel didn't even have the decency to stay quiet. Within weeks, he was seen publicly with the other woman, flaunting their relationship like my heartbreak meant nothing at all. His family was horrified. His parents personally apologized to me, ashamed of how their son had treated someone they had come to love as family. And then there was Marcus. He was the one who showed up at my apartment 3 days after the breakup with a bag of groceries because he knew I hadn't eaten properly in days. He didn't try to talk badly about his brother. He didn't try to make a move on me. He just stayed. Quietly. Consistently. Over the following months, something shifted. Marcus and I started talking more. Really talking. About books, about our fears, about the kind of life we actually wanted, not the kind of life we thought we were supposed to want. He never rushed anything. He never made me feel like I was a rebound or a replacement. He simply showed me, day after day, what real respect looked like. A year later, on a quiet evening on that same lake where Daniel had once proposed to me, Marcus asked me to marry him. No crowd. No spectacle. Just him, a small velvet box, and the kind of sincerity that made me believe in love again. I said yes. And this time, I meant it with a peace I had never felt with Daniel. Our wedding day arrived exactly 1 year after our engagement. This time, I chose everything myself. The venue, the dress, the people who would stand beside me. And yes, Daniel was invited. Not out of spite, but because he was still family, and Marcus, being the bigger man he always was, refused to let old wounds control who got to celebrate their happiness. I'll admit, part of me wondered how it would feel to see Daniel again. Would I still feel that old ache? Would his presence ruin my day? The moment I stepped into that ballroom, chandeliers glowing above me like 1,000 tiny stars, I found my answer. I looked stunning. Not because of makeup or the dress, though both helped. I looked stunning because I was finally standing in the light of a love that never once made me feel small. I saw Daniel's face the second I walked in. His jaw dropped. His eyes went wide with something between shock and disbelief. This was the same woman he had called too plain, too ordinary, not worth marrying. And now she was radiant, adored, and marrying a man 10 times the person he ever was. I watched something break behind his eyes. Regret. Pure, undeniable regret. He tried to force a smile when our eyes met across the room, but I could see it. The realization crashing over him that he had thrown away something real for a fantasy that, as I would soon learn, had already fallen apart. During the reception, one of the wedding guests, an old mutual friend, quietly pulled me aside. She told me the woman Daniel left me for had left him 3 months earlier. For someone even wealthier. Someone with more status. Someone who could offer her more than Daniel could. The very thing Daniel had chased, thinking it made him look powerful and desirable, had used him exactly the way he had used me. He had traded real love for admiration, and in the end, he was left with neither. I didn't feel triumphant hearing that. I felt something quieter. A kind of peace. Because I realized something important that night. My worth was never something Daniel had the power to decide. He had tried to make me feel small so he could justify his own choices. But the woman standing in that ballroom, marrying a man who cherished her completely, was proof that his words had never been true. Later that evening, Daniel approached me alone, away from the crowd. His voice was quiet, almost broken. "You look incredible, Elena," he said. "I was wrong. About everything. I let go of someone who actually loved me because I got caught up chasing something that wasn't real." I didn't need to shout at him. I didn't need to remind him of the cruelty of his words that night. His own eyes, staring at everything he lost, said more than I ever could. I simply looked at him and said, "Thank you for letting me go, Daniel. If you hadn't, I never would have found the life I was actually meant to have." Then I turned, took my husband's hand, and walked back into my own celebration. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up giving us an unexpected gift, the push we needed to find something better. Daniel thought calling off our engagement, thought calling me ugly and unworthy, would leave me broken forever. Instead, it forced me to open my eyes to someone who had been quietly showing me real love all along. If someone makes you feel small, replaceable, or not enough, remember this. The right person will never make you question your worth. They will remind you of it every single day, without needing to be asked. Heartbreak is never the end of the story. Sometimes, it's simply the door closing on the wrong one, so a better one can finally open. And when it does, you won't need revenge. Your happiness will speak for itself.